Why did you wreck me? Why? It wasn't over for me. I waited for you for 7 years. And now it's too late.
I lived in 365 rivers. I wrote a trip every day for a year.
You broke me?
Yes. It wasn't over. It still isn't over.
Hi, my name is Claire, and together with Ryan and Glynis, we're going to be teaching you about how to honor your hunger and fullness and help you to become an intuitive eater. Did you know that distracted eating, such as watching TV or playing on the computer, can cause you to eat over 25% more than if you were undistracted?
What the heck? I ate this whole bowl of bad popcorn?
This kind of overeating can lead to weight gain and development of eating disorders and dieting behavior. In fact, 22% of women and 17% of men reported unhealthy dieting behaviors. These dieting behaviors can include severely limiting food or beverages, and this can lead to eating disorders and just unhealthy relationships with food. These kind of diet behaviors have been found in 46% of high school students. And these kind of behaviors continue into your college years and even into your early adulthood. What this means for you is that half of you in this room will have developed some type of unhealthy eating behavior. Lastly, 90 to 90% of all of these diets fail, so they're really not really beneficial for us in the first place. So what do? You're at kind of an end point. You and your food don't get along. You're concerned about your shape and body size, and you aren't able to really understand how to eat when you're hungry and stop eating when you're full. And I think this comic really can relate to all of us. As the start of the semester, we don't have as much stress and not as a lot of midterms and projects are due, but as we progress into the semester, when all these things start becoming due, I think a lot of us get stressed and resort to eating junk food or just unhealthy relationships with food. So what is intuitive eating? Intuitive eating provides a new way of eating that is ultimately struggle-free and healthy for your mind and body. It is a process that unleashes the shackles of dieting, which can lead to deprivation, rebellion, and rebound weight gain. It means getting back to your roots, trusting your body and its signals. Intuitive eating will not only change your relationship, it may change your life. And this was from a book called Intuitive Eating that you may check out from us after this intervention. So some concepts of intuitive eating is really just to learn to appreciate and enjoy your food. Being able to savor food and get what it tastes like, and also to break the diet mentality. It's getting rid of those diet books and the content of those diet books and just focusing on enjoyment of food. It also talks about honoring your hunger. So eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. And also the strategies to be able to tell if you're actually hungry or when you're full. It's about respecting your body and stopping the body bashing. So what is body bashing? Body bashing is negative behaviors about yourself or others, about their body size or their weight, and characteristics of this include calling somebody fat or lazy or unmotivated because of their size or shape. However, this is something we want to become aware of and decrease these kind of behaviors because you never really know the type of background that person has. So their weight could be something way more than just being lazy or unmotivated. This book is also about coping with your emotions without using food. So if you really want to eat, then that's fine. But knowing how to cope with these other emotions such as stress, sadness, or anxiety, and learning other ways to cope with those. Lastly, it's about challenging the food police. Now, the food police is characterizing food as good or bad. And we really don't want to do that because all food is good, and we shouldn't restrict ourselves to eating something just because of the classification of it being bad. Your body was created to be a certain shape and size, and it's good to realize this, and it becomes an important step to becoming an intuitive eater. Now, Ryan will discuss the negative effects of distracted eating and the wonderful benefits of intuitive eating.
So let's discuss the negative effects of distracted eating. Distracted eating is that feeling of being aware of what you're eating, but you're probably doing it during an activity, such as studying, watching a movie, maybe you're hanging out with some friends, or maybe you're even just at a party. So that whole distracted eating actually causes their mind and body to be disconnected. You might actually consume more food and start eating more frequently than you would realize if you're really paying attention to what you're eating. The difference between distracted eating and mindless eating is almost like a food amnesia. You may not even be aware that you ate anything or have like some sort of recollection of that. So the negative effects is feeling significantly less full, again, because you're unaware, eating faster, consuming more snacks, increasing your overall calorie intake, and potential weight gain. This all kind of is coupled with that idea that because you're eating more and you're not connected, your body feels the need to continually repeat your eating sensation, and that can increase your calorie intake, and then you might see an overall weight gain. So let's discuss some of the positive effects from intuitive eating that might actually help you in terms of distracted eating. So intuitive eating allows you to have more trust with food, increase your body satisfaction, learn to listen to your body's internal cues, maintain a healthy weight, and avoid the diet mentality. Basically, intuitive eating is allowing you to develop a relationship with your mind, body, and food so that you are understanding better what you need. Ultimately, you're going to become really in tune and become an expert in that mind, body, and food connection. With intuitive eating, we're going to help you distinguish between emotional hunger and physiological hunger. Once you're able to distinguish those feelings, you probably will be able to develop more confidence in being able to understand those internal body cues, which would say eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. Once you've been able to actually distinguish those and trust that you have the ability to understand what your body needs, your body might be able to return to a point of self-regulation where you may gain, lose weight, or even maintain weight to better help you reach a point of body satisfaction. So Glennis is going to talk to us about some techniques that will help us put intuitive eating into practice.
There are a lot of different techniques that you can use to become an intuitive eater. Many of them will take years to develop and make your body use them as habit. Some of them are quick go-to tips that you can use during every meal to slowly become an intuitive eater. A few of these tips include identifying your emotions before you reach for a bite of food or start a meal. It is important to identify what emotion you're experiencing when you think you're hungry in order to be able to solve the background of why you're eating. Some emotions can include stress, sadness, loneliness, anger, excitement, or just plain biological hunger. We've all been in this situation where we're up late at night cramming for an exam or finishing a term paper, and we just reach for the bag of M&Ms to fill that emotion with some sort of tasty treat. We've all been in this situation when we're sad or lonely, and we fill that gap with like brownies or a piece of pizza. And it's really important to understand that eating when you're not hungry is okay. we don't always have to be hungry when we eat, but it's important to understand why you're eating, because maybe you can solve that, work through that emotion in another way, such as taking a walk, taking a bubble bath, talking to a friend, or watching a movie, reading a favorite book, something else to work through that emotion instead of reaching for food. If you're eating due to emotion, it's okay, but it's always important to recognize why. Another tip is to reflect on the hunger and fullness scale. The hunger and fullness scale is a scale from 0 to 10. 0 is empty, where you have absolutely no food in your stomach, you're famished, you're weak, you haven't eaten in far too long for your body. 5 is considered neutral, where you're not really hungry, you're not really full, and just overall neutral. 10 is sickly full. You just had a full-on Thanksgiving dinner, your pants are about to rip, you're uncomfortable, you're in pain. We've all been there. It's not fun. Usually regret it. So between 0 and 10, there's different ranks. There's ravenous, set, pangs, satisfied, full, and stuffed. Biological hunger is usually considered to be anywhere below a 5. If you're feeling somewhere between a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you're probably hungry due to emotion or some sort of psychological distress or something else besides biological hunger. And it's really important to know where you're at on the scale so you know how much your body needs to eat. And by using this, we can better tell when our hunger cues are going to stop and our satiety is going to kick in. So this is a helpful tool for listening to your body's cues. Number 3 for easy tips would be to avoid distractions. We live in an age full of technology. We often eat meals in front of the TV while we're texting and Instagramming, talking to all of our roommates. So it's important to kind of put everything away, just be with yourself, whoever you're eating your meal with, and your food. And it's really a time to experience your food, not other things that you're doing throughout the day. So sit down, turn off the TV, put away your cell phone, shut down your computer, and just think about the food and look at it and smell it and just kind of enjoy its presence and kind of taste it and understand why you like that food. This will help you to prevent overeating because you'll be much more satisfied at the end of the meal because you're not sitting there shoveling your face while you're watching TV. And then before you know it, you look down and your whole meal's gone, so it's not very satisfying. Number 4 would be to avoid diet mentality. It's very common for college students, especially in the first beginning years when it's stressful in college, to adopt a diet mentality. And this is common in all age groups, but definitely very common in college students such as yourselves. My top tip is to avoid diet rules, where you set rules for yourself on what time you need to eat, or good foods, bad foods, and eating carbs after 8. And these are all just unhealthy ways to look at food and give you a not a very trustworthy relationship with food. It's important to ask yourself, am I hungry? Do I want to eat this food? Does it taste good? If you don't say yes to all of these, you're probably eating for another reason. You're not responding to your hunger cues. So it's important to keep your biological cues in mind at all times. And remember, it's okay to eat if you're not hungry, but just know why you're eating. Avoiding rigid guidelines for dieting is a treat to yourself because you avoid feelings of guilt or failure induced by not meeting these specific regulations that you created for yourself. By avoiding the diet rules, you create a healthy relationship with food, and you'll begin to trust eating more without the stress of not succeeding. Number 5 and which we consider to be the most important tip for becoming an intuitive eater, is to slow down when you eat your meal. Sit down, take a deep breath, and just let go of everything that's happened throughout the day. Just kind of decompress and take time to appreciate your food, appreciate the meal and what it's doing for your body. Savor each bite and think about what you enjoy about that particular bite, and think about all the positive things that it's doing for your body. A helpful tip for this would be to set your fork down while you're eating. If you set your fork down between each bite, it kind of breaks up your meal and gives you time to chew and swallow and slowly digest and prolong the experience and your enjoyment of the food. It takes your body 20 minutes to recognize its fullness cues. So if we just scarf our food down, we may not be full until 10 minutes after we've finished our meal. This often leads to overeating, and we are bumped up to a 10, and we're in the uncomfortable zone of being just much too full. By slowing down your eating, you give your body time to recognize whether or not it's full, and you prevent overeating, and you just will likely feel much more satisfied, which is the goal of any meal. Oh, and now Ryan is going to come up and do a step-by-step lesson on how to become an intuitive eater, and here she is.
Alright, I just passed out some red vines. So I'm gonna guide you through an intuitive experience. And before we actually get the opportunity to really jump in and eat this, we're gonna work on engaging all of our senses and really tuning into the way our body is feeling when we start doing that. Now this is a technique that you probably won't really do for every meal. If you can, that's great. But if not, this is something to maybe do and practice on your own or with people around you when you really want to slow down at mealtime and really enjoy that. So what we're going to start off with is our red vine. I want you to put it in your hand and just start by noticing the texture in your hand and the weight of it. And then I want you to use the sense of smell. So I want you to take a big smell of your red vine. And once you've done that, I want you to really sit with that. Don't talk to anyone else, but just really think of like what's happening when you take a smell, and continue to do that if you feel like you need to take a few smells just to really get a sense of what's going on. But put your hand on your stomach, and after that, like, is there anything going on in your stomach? Is it growling? Are you feeling something going on? What's going on in your mouth? Are you salivating? What type of like sensations did you feel in your nose? And then we like kind of work our way up into our mind, like what emotions were you feeling, if any? Like, were you starting to feel hunger, or was there any anxieties that came up with it, memories, maybe some happiness that came up, the excitement of it? So let's just start taking note of all those things as we work through each process and each sensation. So now that we've smelled it, I want you to take a small little bite, but don't swallow it or chew it yet. I just want you to take a bite and let it sit there on your tongue. And as it sits there on the tongue, I want you to really feel like what's going on in your mouth. Are you salivating even more? I want you to move it around on your tongue and like let it hit your teeth and everything. And really feel the texture of this candy. And take note of like what does that seem like or feel like to you. Again, let's maybe put our hand on our stomach and be aware. Are we starting to feel more hunger physiologically? Are there other emotions coming up as you're eating? Other anxieties? Are there any of those food thoughts that kind of come up because you're eating a piece of candy? Be aware of these things and really allow your body to start feeling it. Now the next thing I want you to do is just take a little bit of a bite, and don't swallow it quite yet, but as you're chewing, I want you to start to feel each taste on your tongue. What parts of your tongue are lighting up and really like telling you the flavors and textures that are coming out of this, and connect that with your mind and other feelings and parts of your body that you feel like might be connected to this experience. Now you can go ahead and swallow and enjoy it. And maybe you need to do that a few times with each bite. But this is just a technique that you can do. Notice how you had to slow down. And take note, how was that experience for you? Did you enjoy this more? Did you enjoy it less? Did you notice a taste or texture that you've never noticed before if you had just picked it up, popped one in, and continued chewing? These are things that we want to take note of when we're eating. We have a tendency, like I said, to get distracted, and we're not aware of what we're eating, and we're not aware of our textures and our flavors and tastes and what's going on in our body. So by slowing down and engaging all of our senses, we can better connect with our mind, body, and food experience so that we feel more satisfied, and potentially in the end we're actually getting more out of our meal, and we may not need to eat as more, we may need to eat more depending on that experience. So yeah, I hope you can take this little project with you and apply it anytime that you can. And does anyone have any questions? If not, before I leave, I just wanted to point out the book that we're using if you felt like this was an enjoyable activity and you feel like this really spoke to you. There's the book Intuitive Eating, a revolutionary program that works, and these are kind of the concepts that they deal with more in depth. So if you do feel like this is something you would like to learn a lot more detail, come speak to one of us and we can let you have the author's name. So thank you.